Oh. Well, it's been a while since I gave an update on my life here at Dancing Rabbit, and I've been kind of falling behind in posting here about what I'm doing this season. It's been a really busy season. I've got a lot of footage banked and videos coming up, so I'm hoping to just release more videos in the next month or so. A big part of what I do here during the season is just growing food and setting up the systems that I have to grow food. And then also, growing food, it does save me a little bit of income, but food in our economy tends to be pretty cheap compared to the cost of other things. So you're not saving a lot, but you are maybe saving your future healthcare costs if you're lucky. And because if you're eating healthy, you might not have as many healthcare expenses. And I don't know. I just find that really good food is what makes my life enjoyable. Starting out this video with when I arrived back in the spring from Florida and getting things going here again in the spring. So I just got back to my house after being gone for the winter. This is a pretty typical ritual. My house is a mess. I've got like my water system disconnected. I've got to reconnect that. Usually I will rent this place out for the winter, but I just couldn't find anybody to rent it for last winter. So it was left alone to the spiders and the lady beetles. And now I came back and there's just like spider webs everywhere. Fortunately, it doesn't look like anything is outrageously damaged or anything. I don't see any visible signs of wear and tear or whatever, something happening, or storm damage, anything like that, which is kind of surprising, but that's good too. So now my first order of business is going to be to get my water system running again. Just got to connect it up to the cistern. And what has happened in the past with my water system when nobody was staying in here for the winter is that the little valve inside the cistern gets stuck. And so even if I hook up my water pump right now, I don't know that I'm going to be able to pump water out of the cistern until I actually get down into the cistern. So that's a whole other project. It would have been so much nicer just to be able to rent this place for the winter, make some money to offset my rent in Florida, and then not have to do this when I get back. But this is just what I'm kind of stuck with because of this system leaving my house to fend for itself for the winter. Got to hook up this pressure tank and then put the filter on, the sediment filter. Then we should be good to go for at least having cold water, because that's all we ever have. Man, if this thing started working right away like this, that would be amazing. That would be a solution to a huge headache that I always think I'm going to have to deal with when I get back. So I'm crossing my fingers that this will actually work. Yeah, we'll see. So everything went perfectly with getting the water back on because my new pump is so much more powerful than the old one. So no having to get down into my cistern. So got most of my stuff unpacked and put away. And the house gave it a little bit of a spring cleaning. So should be good to go from now on. Coming back to northeastern Missouri, there's always this sense of beginnings and rebirth on the land. It's so much more stark than spring down in Florida. Florida is a mix of native flora, which is cabbage palms, palmettos, evergreen oaks, and then the non-native tropical flora that has its own season. But there isn't ever a clear division between the seasons. Up north, everything goes from completely lifeless to bursting with greenery, flowers, and new fresh scents. Even on the way back up here on the road, you get to a point in Georgia where you see the line between deciduous ecology and evergreen ecology. And as I get closer to Missouri, it's like going back in time in the spring. All kinds of things. I am really enjoying having my kitchen back and the full space to use to myself, just myself. Making some falafel. I brought back some parsley that was from Sweetwater Farm, I believe. Maybe some I got from the farmer's market, but it's just nice. I don't have a big kitchen, but it's bigger than the space that I was using for the later part of the time I was in Florida, and also before that I was sharing a kitchen with somebody else. And it's just nice to have my own kitchen and my own space and my own kitchen gadgets to use. Really nice to be back in that way. One of the first things I do when I get back every year is to prune my fruit trees and grapes. While I was out in the vineyard beginning the pruning, we got a spring storm coming through late in the day, and rain early or late in the day always means rainbows. And I have to say, this one really touched my heart. It made me almost emotional. Double rainbow. Oh, it's so beautiful. The double rainbow guy. Back here I have this sort of compost staging area. I have a hardware cloth lined box bin that I put my compost in initially to keep rats out of it until it breaks down enough to be able to put into the compost pile. But actually last year I just left all of it in here and it broke down completely. And this is the sifted composted kitchen scraps here, which is just like this incredibly rich, dark compost, and it was full of worms, little red wiggler worms in here, and I sifted it, so this is sort of what came out. But in the siftings you can see there's just like tons of worms in here. So the worms were still, after it had broken down this much, they were still loving it. You can also see in here a lot of these black soldier fly larva shells. So not only are there worms breaking the stuff down, but there's black soldier fly larvae everywhere in it. And so it just makes this incredibly rich compost. Oh, and sometimes a stray thing that's not compostable makes it into the compost bin. I use this 1/4-inch hardware cloth set up to screen the compost, and then I'll put it into these bins. I might put this directly into my garden beds, or I might make the composted seed starting mix for my seedlings in the spring. But since I've got so much of this from last year, I'm probably just going to put this into my garden beds. I also mix my compost into some cocoa coir mix that I usually get from the store for starting seeds, but this is the stuff that I use for my seedlings. So it's just a mix of cocoa coir and I don't know what else they do have, like sort of a soil mix. It's a seed starting mix, but I add my composted kitchen scraps to it, and it makes this great, very fertile seed starting mix. I'm getting these starts transplanted into larger pots now. These onions I'm probably just going to direct plant into the bed in the garden, but some of these got a little bit sun scalded when I brought them back here. But these larger ones I'm putting into pretty large pots, so still got a ways to go before the danger of frost is past, so these are going to get really big. These ones are a paprika pepper right here, and then these ones are called Staden Select. I think it's just a regular bell pepper of some sort. And then these are Dong A chilies. I got them from the Dong A market in St. Pete, so that's what I called them, because I have no idea what they are. They were just in a little bag that, you know, they were selling for kitchen use, and so I just took the seeds out of them because I didn't have any chilies. So it's really easy to do that with, you know, things that you buy from the store, and especially something like a chili is probably not going to be a hybrid, so it will come true to seed. And these all look very uniform, that variety. The basil got a little sun scalded, but I think it'll recover, and I usually end up with way more basil than I know what to do with. I still have some in the freezer. Got some tomatoes in here too, different heirloom tomatoes. These ones were one that I grow like a super Italian paste, and they really got a slow start. They just took a long time to germinate compared with the other ones, and then they got sun scalded, so they kind of been slowed down. I just Transplanted these. These are some different peppers and Black King eggplant. A couple different heirloom tomato varieties. You know, I've been gardening since I was like 7 years old, and I just never get sick of this. I always enjoy gardening, and even throughout the season, I really don't get sick of gardening. I don't know what it is. It's just kind of in my blood, and I need to garden. But I love moving plants around, watching them grow. I love all the different varieties of food that you can grow, and yeah, just like the diversity and just watching them change through the season and then produce fruit and vegetable, and then you can eat them and they're delicious. So I probably will be doing this as long as I can, I guess, until I'm physically incapable of gardening anymore. But it takes a lot of work, you know. It's digging up garden beds, and I'm not looking forward to that part. That's probably the part that I like the least, but I really enjoy, you know, growing the plants and seeing them change throughout the season. Really pretty time of year with all these dandelions. Daffodils have finished up, but the dandelions have just bloomed. My yard is full of them. We haven't been getting good rain in the last, I don't know, couple months, I think, or good precipitation. And my cistern was kind of low when I got here, and now it's filling up. I could really use this, and I just got a few beds planted, earliest beds in my garden, just in time, just before this rain. I was kind of planning on it. So it's good that it's watering them in. So this one storm today completely filled up this rain barrel, and a lot of the rain wasn't even going into it. Check out what's going on with the cistern over here. See if that's full. Oh yeah, that's completely full. Wow. So there's a lot of crap in it. This is a yellowhorn tree I planted several years ago now. It's a nut tree that produces little edible nuts that can be made into oil. It's a permaculture plant in the chestnut family that I'd planned to harvest from, but I don't have a pollinator for it because the seeds I'd bought to start pollinators didn't germinate. I just need to source and buy another tree so that I can get nuts from this. But you can see that it's got these beautiful showy flowers that look similar to horse chestnut flowers. The wisteria vine at Wisteria Lodge, the other house I own here that I rent out for short-term rentals, is blooming in full this year. Last year it didn't bloom fully for some reason. I usually prune it in the summer to encourage flowering, and I must have done something right last summer. I love this time in the evening. The colors are vibrant and the light is perfect. I've gotten the garden started with brassicas, peas, and you can see garlic I planted last fall. I am separating honey from the comb because I am cleaning out this old hive, abandoned hive. Just trying to clean it out and get it sorted out so that the bees have a clean and organized space, and I have a easy access to the frames and everything in the honey. But this honey is so much darker. Actually, a lot of it was already crystallized, and I've got the rest of it out in the solar oven. This was just a mess of comb and propolis and garbage and wax. Now I'm just trying to separate out the honey and the wax, and usually the wax just kind of floats on top after it melts, but you can see there's all this gook in here that just trying to get filtered out. But this solar oven is a perfect place to do this because it gives it just the right temperature to melt the wax but not make it too hot, sort of ruin the honey. I have the feeling that this is going to be maybe a couple of quarts of honey, and it's going to be dark honey. It's pretty good. Definitely tastes a lot stronger than the other honey. This is my first attempt at making hush puppies with my own ground corn that I grew, flour corn. So I soaked it, and then I ground it in my molinero, which was not easy because it doesn't soften up as much as it does when you nixtamalize it. But I'm just trying to test if this is another possible application for my corn. This is the batter, which also has Egyptian walking onions in it. Just got ground corn, some flour, wheat flour, and then sugar, baking soda, baking powder, salt. These are even better than the ones I made with store-bought cornmeal. They just have like sort of a crunchy texture, larger grains of corn. Asparagus harvest is a daily spring ritual. I usually keep harvesting asparagus until the 1st of June. I've gotten many pounds off my plants this season. A great perennial vegetable that requires minimal effort and comes back reliably for decades. I was just watching a video, PBS Terra, I think it was. It's a great channel, and it was about how major rivers on the planet are drying up because of so much water consumption, and also because of climate change changing the amount of water rain that's being dropped in the world. Obviously, most places climate change seems to increase the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, but apparently human population, consumption, capitalist uses of water have drained a lot of these major rivers around the world. And it just makes me think that, like, if you live in a place where you can grow food and you get plenty of water, as we do here, you should be growing your food, because these industrial systems that use like tons of water to grow food in the desert, or to grow other things like cotton or whatever it is that aren't even food, but they do it there because it's economical, because they can get away with it, and they're basically like using up the water in a completely unsustainable manner. It can't be replenished by the natural rainfall that they get in those areas. And so they're just like living on borrowed time. Like, that entire economy is living on borrowed time. It's just like the rest of our economy. It's just exploiting the planet and living for short-term gains, and then screwing the future. And so the way I feel is like, we've got this great climate here. We can grow our own food, and it's fun to do it. And if we can produce food abundantly, we don't have to go to the mainstream economy to get our food needs met. And what I've been doing in my life pretty much ever since I came here is trying to like improve my food growing all the time. So like this season, trying to grow a lot more staple crops. In the past years, I've been planting more like flour corn, which is something that I can store and use throughout the year. It can take the place of things like rice in my diet that I get from far away. I'm also growing more dry beans this year, which are also another like protein-rich food that I can store. So these are some changes that I'm just like implementing in the food that I grow, because I don't want to just be growing vegetables. Vegetables are mostly water. It's fine to have them, but sometimes they get overwhelming. Like, you get like bags and bags full of cucumbers, and you can only eat so many of those, and you can only eat so many canned cucumber pickles. So I really should be devoting my garden space to storable foods that can store for a much longer term. And so that's what I'm trying to do more and more. And another thing that I really enjoy about doing these videos and having this channel is just reading the comments from viewers who watch these videos. The last video that I did about my food self-sufficiency had a lot of great comments. Cherry McKenzie said, "Great topic. 2 years ago, I started homesteading in place in my backyard, and it is a lot of work. It has helped me supplement the things I need to buy so I save money and eat better. I also have set up solar panels and LiFePO batteries for storage, again to supplement my energy usage. Rain barrels have also helped, Most people have no idea how much you have to grow to be totally self-sufficient. But it is more than worth the effort because I know what I'm eating. Thanks for the great video. So yeah, that's inspiring to hear of other people doing this, and even doing this in a backyard can make a difference. If you've got a yard, that's an amazing thing. And if you have a yard and sunlight and pretty good soil, you can grow a lot of your own food. You can actually grow enough that it's almost too much sometimes. And another comment from Chelsea Murphy. So refreshing to see an honest video about this. I often think that what homestead influencers really mean is they're 80% sufficient in vegetables, which isn't the same thing at all, especially when you consider that most people eat a super meat and grain heavy diet, which is true. Then that's something that I also talk about in that video, is that, you know, most of your energy and nutrients are coming from these staple foods, and often that's meat, and it's not something that people are raising on their land themselves. But if you have a much more vegetarian diet and you're growing a lot of staples, you can go a lot more towards that personal self-sufficiency in a smaller space. And another comment here from Mabusawa Balando, sorry about if I'm not pronouncing your name correct, says, "You are so right. You can grow some of your food. Some you buy. It's okay. I got a tiny patch to grow my basic veggies. I concentrate on what I love eating most. It keeps my store budget low. Thank you for sharing." And that's another reason why we grow our own food, is to save us money. And then another comment from Wrist on Fire. With respect to your doubts in 235, that's the point in the video, take a look at Alec Pellman's videos or scientific papers. He grows essentially all his food based on grain pulses, olive oil basically, in less than a quarter acre, although he lives in a fairly benign climate, truth be told. Anyways, I agree with you in that community self-sufficiency or community sufficiency is what would be ideal. And I said, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm always interested in learning more about what people are doing. I watched a brief part of the video, and he said he gave up on growing veggies early for the same reason I mentioned in my video, that they have a lot of water and they're not very nutrient rich. And then I watched a little more of the video, and I realized that he has a year-round growing season outdoors, so that makes a big difference in how much you can grow in a small space. But definitely, if you have a year-round growing season, you can be growing stuff, you should be doing that. Here, we can't grow much for about 5 months of the year outside of using a hoop house, which I used to do. So, it can make a difference how long your season is. But you can also grow stuff in a shorter season and then store it for the rest of the season. That's why it's important to be growing some of those staples like grains and beans and any other staples that you can grow that you can preserve for the rest of the year. Another interesting comment was from Dustin ABC. Humans are not meant to be self-sustaining. Sure, we can be capable of it, but we thrive best when we each specialize in the different things we enjoy and are good at, and trade with others for the things they enjoy and are good at. While it's great for everyone to have the basic skills to be self-sustaining in cases of emergency, actually being self-sustaining is unwise and inefficient. And I responded, "It's true we live in communities for a reason. Unfortunately, a lot of the systems that are set up to produce things on a large scale are unsustainable in the long term, and they are this way because of their disconnection and our disconnection from nature. They are also easily corrupted to work against people, their communities, and the environment we're all trying to live in, both in the long and short term. There's a reason I want to be self-sufficient on a local level, and I think the world would be much better off if more people and communities were. This is the way it used to be before we started shipping food out of season from across the world using fossil fuel. When your entire economy is built on finite resources and practices that destroy and deplete the land instead of building it, your civilization is existing on borrowed time." But I think the basic nugget of his comment makes sense. If we can each specialize in something, like somebody likes to grow onions and does it really well, they should grow all the onions and then somebody else should grow this other crop and then we trade them. Or we just work together cooperatively to grow our food cooperatively. I think that's also a better way to do it, because then you can also share those resources. You can share the equipment that you need to grow your food collectively. And that's a better way to do it. So I want to thank all of you out there who support my channel by becoming a patron, or by just, watching my videos and commenting on them, or by sharing my content with your friends. If you want to support my channel more, you can become a patron by following the link on the screen right now. I've abandoned my Instagram account for now. And instead of posting stuff there, I'm posting on Patreon just for my patrons. So I'm having a lot more like short and long, some of them pretty long video updates, vlog updates about what I'm doing. And so if you want to like maybe more than double your access to my content, you can check out the Patreon account and become a patron, and then you'll get access to all that extra content. And don't forget to share and like the video, and I'll see you next time. We once loved together and we loved it.